right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Lockdown featuring our guest, Maria Papadakis, a digital and in-stadium host for Toronto FC, a producer for MLSE, and a host of Serving Syrup. And she just actually launched her own website. Maria, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thanks so much for having me on the show and podcast.
Hey, we're doing pretty good. Glad you can make it. So, obviously, you do a lot, as I just mentioned, but half of that, maybe even more than half, has been taken away due to the fact that Toronto FC won't be playing for maybe even a year. We don't know, right? So what have you been doing this time to keep busy and, shift your craft to being done at home?
Yeah, so obviously it is unfortunate that Toronto FC is not in season right now. However, we've done as much as we can to try to make the best of the situation. So we've done a lot of at-home workouts where I actually produce a lot of the stuff. So even though I'm not on camera, I'm producing a lot of the features behind the scene with the team. So I'll be doing that. I'm a host on Serving Syrup, which is a new network that MLSC launched a few months ago now. So on top of producing and working any of that stuff for TFC, I'm hosting that 3 times a week. And then like you said, I recently just launched my website, and that's been something that I've been wanting to do for years now. So the positive thing is that this, whole COVID-19 situation has allowed me to finally be able to do some things I never actually got the chance to do. So I've just been trying to do as much as I can to keep busy and just tap into different areas of, the business that I'm in and just keep myself busy. So, yeah.
So we've seen different leagues like Bundesliga come back with empty stadiums, especially for a team like Toronto FC. They have such a great supporter group, such great fans. So what are your thoughts on the possibility of soccer having a return without fans?
Yeah, I mean, listen, one of the parts of my hosting job is hosting in stadiums, seeing all those fans around you, right? You live for those Saturday nights where everyone's, watching down, the lights are on, everyone's cheering. So it would obviously it wouldn't be the same. It would suck to have no fans, but at the end of the day, I think if we have to go with no fans for a year, I'll take that over not having any soccer at all, because I'd rather the team be playing. And yeah, whatever, you can watch at home and you can still be a part of it, just that might not be in the actual stadium. So, I mean, it is unfortunate to have no fans, but I think it would still be good for the league, revenue-wise, growing-wise, and the fan base, because, MLS is still growing. It's still growing a league. So I think it'd be really good to have just the game start, even if it's no fans.
Maria, how have you seen fans engage right now? Are they engaging with, the football club, or are they just kind of, off to the side right now and waiting for things to start back?
I mean, we do a lot of statistics through all teams across MLSC, right? So every week we look at just the differences between viewership across each team, and they fluctuate by week. I guess it just depends on what the team's posting, how much is going on. But in terms of Toronto FC, the fan engagement has actually still been really great. What we do every week is we have one player feature, and they do a lot of the quizzes on the Instagram stories that fans are engaging with. So they're still clicking on something, they're still watching something, still being engaged. And we found that a lot of our fan base is very digital, obviously. So they have been very engaged, and they also love the at-home workouts. So a lot of fans have been contributing and tuning in to doing the workouts on YouTube and on Instagram stories. So for the most part, the fans have been engaged, but you can tell they're getting eager to have soccer back. So
you just launched your new website, and it's kind of like a wellness website. And how would you post your recipes, and it's all about healthy lifestyle and attracting positivity. How would you see yourself incorporating that into your career in the future?
Yeah, you know what? There's so many elements that I've actually even just realized that I've grown from university to the website to TFC. They've all just kind of crossed paths. And I think that what I've done with this website, it's very health and wellness, like you said. And there's a whole other side of me to then soccer, a fitness trainer, all the whole side is one side of Maria and the other side is all football. So I think the fact that now that we're doing a lot of stuff where it's at-home workouts and teams are more gauging towards what fans want to be involved in, even now they want to incorporate me within the TFC workout. So I find the worlds kind of collide and everything comes together. Also, launching my website, I had to basically reteach myself to basically produce, edit, be on camera again, because you don't really do that all the time being in front of the camera. So I think now that I've had the editing skills back again, it'll definitely cross over and I'll be editing a lot more for Toronto FC now too. Yeah.
What was the motivation behind creating the website? Because obviously you're very busy with Toronto FC. So what kind of motivated you? What was the passion behind creating the website?
When I stopped playing soccer, obviously, like, you either keep fitness going or you don't. And I think my biggest thing was, obviously, you fall off a little bit. You're not going to stay as fit as you were when you were playing 3 games a week. So I definitely just wanted to keep that, like, healthy, active, and just positive lifestyle that I had when I was playing into now. So I think the whole goal behind it was for me to just share what I love, which is health and fitness and sports, all under one umbrella. And I think that because our world is just evolving into just being healthy, being active, I just wanted people to be able to do that in a comfortable environment, because there's a lot of people out there that have to make you look like you have to have this body type, or you need to be working out this many times a week, or you need to be on the field this many times a week. And it's not about that. It's just doing what you want to do to keep yourself active and healthy. And I think that was the motivation more so behind launching my website. And like I said, I've got 2 different sides. I got my soccer side and I've got my health and fitness side. So I wanted people to see just the whole Maria.
I find that really interesting, just because I think in our program, we learn how to be on camera, we learn how to be, communicate to people, but I don't think we really are prepared for stepping into the limelight, so to speak, and becoming somewhat of a brand and kind of a figure in in a city like Toronto. How has that been for you, transitioning to that, being in the public eye as the host?
Yeah, I mean, I started as their host when I was still in 4th year. So I was still at Ryerson trying to finish school. So it was definitely a lot. I'm not going to lie. I was like trying to finish school, being on air. Like, you're trying to figure out who you are as like a person still, because you know what I mean? You're in the adult world and the real world now. And like you said, building your brand is so important. And at Ryerson, they taught you a lot of skills, but not to kind of build who you are. And I think the main thing for me was what I really learned was just stepping out of your comfort zone and doing the most that you can to just show people who you are. And it doesn't come overnight. I can tell you that I have done a lot of work to build myself from first year all the way till now. I mean, first year as in TFC and first year to now. But yeah, like, it's about really just showing who you are, posting as much as you can, creating your own content outside of what you're doing at work. And being in the public eye is definitely, it's not easy, because people will always notice who you are and they'll always have an eye on you or have something to say. And you honestly just have to take everything with a grain of salt and realize that you're not going to have everyone who's going to like you, and people are going to love you or hate you. And that's just how it's going to be. But you just have to know that you're doing the best for what you're doing at work, and you're just doing the most that you can to build your own brand. And like I said, building your own brand comes a lot of work, and once you start, you can't stop, because people are always going to be looking for what's next. And when I was in university, I never really posted a lot. I wasn't a big like Instagram or Twitter. I'm still not even big on Twitter. I always forget that I even have the app, and that's really bad for someone who's in the public eye. But I just never was a really big poster. I didn't really want to publicize everything. And now it's like I gotta post at least 2 or 3 times a week, because people are like, hello, do you exist still? Like, are you there? And it's like, I am. And you gotta just make sure that people are always noticing what you're doing. So
what advice would you give to people who are striving, but they keep getting, negative criticism, they kind of just don't believe it's going to happen? Like, what was your belief that I'm going to be on air one day and you pursue your goals?
Well, let me tell you, it wasn't easy. I had someone come to me when I was in second year university. And I have a very raspy voice. It's known. I'm known for my voice a lot of the times. And I had actually like a professional in the industry turned to me and told me that I would never make it on air because my voice is too raspy and no one will ever like it. I also had someone told me that just because you're blonde doesn't mean you're going to get hired. And I never thought my hair color would have something to do with me being on air. And you realize that there's going to be people who doubt you. There's going to be people who have something to say about you all the time. You need to believe in yourself first and foremost, and do whatever it is that you want to do, no matter how far it takes you. So that's one piece of advice I'd give. The other piece of advice I give is don't limit yourself to one career path. That's why I started producing. That's why I really got into both sides, because say, for example, if my on-air career doesn't make it a few years down the road, I at least know that I can fall back on all the work I've done with my producing, and I can create another path that way. So never limit yourself to one road. Always give yourself a lot of different things and a lot of different avenues that you work in, especially when you're young, because you have the time to do it. So don't limit yourself to one career path. And the other thing I'd say is get all the experience you can get when you're young, because experience leads you far more than marks or anything else. I'm not saying don't do well in school. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying your experience matters, and my experience is what got me to where I am today.
I wanted to ask you about TFC. So obviously you probably have a little bit of a bias because you're the in-stadium host, you're the social host. But what do you think is the difference between Toronto FC? Like, what makes Toronto FC different from all the other teams in MLS?
I go on for hours talking about how TFC is great, but the thing that makes Toronto FC different is, number one, their fan base. Their fan base is like none other. You have people who are just so, like, there's the families, there's the individual kids who come out, there's those supporters that are there every game. There is no fan base that has stood by a team who wasn't so great back in 2007 and who has done so much till now. Those fans that were there in 2007 are still there now. So that's what makes Toronto FC as a club just amazing. And inside, the management, the staff, the players, it's so family oriented. And I've met a lot of teams, I've met a lot of players, and yeah, you meet a lot of people, and there's some people that, are all right too. But every day I go into the training grounds, every player from the academy, from when they're like 9, 10 years old, all the way to the first team, will shake your hand, give you a hug, say hello to every single staff member in there, whether you're security, whether you're part of the team staff, whether you're one of the chefs in the kitchen. You will always get a hello, and that is so important because it just shows what a community inside that club is and how they've just built a big family. And even on a bad day, everyone's positive. Everyone's always like, what's next? How can we improve? From all over the business relations within TFC, not even just on the field level. But TFC as a whole is just such a community, such a family. And I think that just shows above any other club. And you'll notice it just being at a game itself.
For sure. What have been some memorable moments in your career with TFC?
There's been so many. Oh my gosh. And it's only been 3 years. So I would have to definitely say I was an intern during MLS Cup final. So I got to experience that like firsthand. That was obviously one of my biggest memories for me. I got to be with the team that entire MLS Cup season. So that entire year was just a memory as a whole. Hearing the stadium like roar when Vasquez scored that goal, I will never forget that in my life. Being able to hold the MLS Cup, huge memory for me. It was heavier than me. Like, that thing was just so heavy. It was so cool, but it was incredible. I have to say, being in Atlanta this year for the Eastern Conference Finals, that was another experience. Just being in that stadium alone was insane. And seeing our team just go through like what the entire season last year was, and then being able to lift the trophy again was incredible for me. And I think another memory would just be my first ever game in stadium. When you are standing on the field, you're like, you feel like an ant compared to everyone else around you, because everyone's just staring down on you. And I remember the lights, it's dark, they're like, hey, Maria, 3, 2, 1. I remember just going into it. And then I cut off camera and I was like, I can't believe I just did that. And it hits you. And I think that was one of the most memorable experiences for me too, just because it kind of realizes that you finally have done something and you finally got to where you are. And all the hard work that I put to get into that finally paid off. Looking back at the MLS Cup and being an intern and doing all that, it finally paid off in that one moment. So all of those are memories. I think every day is a memory going into TFC. It's so much fun.
Sounds like a blast, especially coming. I'm a big soccer fan too. Played all my life, and those are dreams that you dream of as a kid. If you're not on the pitch, you find another way to be there, right? That's exactly what you've done. And I'm from Montreal, and the 401 Derby, it's a huge one. And I've seen you've traveled with the team there. You've eaten some poutine and this and that. What is your most memorable experience from doing that whole trip and just engaging with fans in a derby kind of setting?
Yeah, so I've gone to Montreal 3 times now. My first ever one It was back in February, my first year as a host, and it was freezing. Like, it was so cold. We all marched from like one of the pubs all the way to the stadium. And I remember just being in the huddle. We marched with the actual fans and just seeing like how every fan from Toronto made it there. There was like the flares, the smoke, you name it. It was insane to see how everyone just became into one area to just cheer on the Reds. They traveled from afar. Being in that setting just shows you like the fan base itself and how strong it is. And then once you get into the stadium, you know, you hear the Montreal fans start to chirp and heckle you. And, you know, I'm on the field level in TFC gear, so everyone's got something to say. So it's kind of funny because you listen to these people chirp you and just say all these things. And you just know it's for the love of the game. But it's definitely a good one. And then I was back there again in the fall of last year, yeah. That was also fun because that's Saputo this time instead of the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah,
and it was
Olympic
nice
Stadium is scary.
Yeah, it's massive. When you're in there, you look up and it's I almost lost the way around trying to find the actual field, just going from like the press box all the way down. But it's crazy. The derbies are definitely fun, and the fans all just at each other's throat the entire game. So it's
for sure. It's it could both areas. Like when I went to Toronto Stadium the first time, I was the only one wearing blue, and it was a season where they didn't lose a game at home except for to Montreal, like 5-2 or something. And yeah, I was getting like some threats after that. So it's a pretty scary both ways. But my last question for you about Montreal is Poutine as good as you thought it was gonna taste?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. We had order 2 in our Lay of the Land episode. And once the cameras were off, you should have seen our entire content crew. It was like animals attacking food for the first time. It was so good.
It's really
good. In quarantine right now, things have totally shifted digital. And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, is that going to be a lasting change where we're going to see a lot more things go on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, and shifting away from like traditional media? I'm just wondering what your take is on that.
I definitely agree. I think that it's all going to go digital. Not a lot of like mainstream content. Like I think when it comes to like, your Sports Center, your plays of the month, I think a lot of that stuff will probably still be on TV because people love to go and watch their highlights there as well. However, when it comes to like team content, certain videos that they want to pump out or, like Red Alert, for example, all of that kind of content is going to be digital because it's quick, it's fast. People want to get messages out and it's fun. No one wants to watch long form videos anymore. Everyone's attention span has shrunk by a lot. So I definitely think everything's going to go digital. And because everyone's especially on their phones now, it's just going to skyrocket even more. And we saw it as a trend the past 3 years. Like when I first started in 2018 as the host, my show was on YouTube only. And now it's all on Instagram and YouTube, but mainly everyone picks up their phone and they look at the story, and that's where they find everything. And even what we're doing, we're just launching a new thing coming up and everything's on IG. So that's where it's going to last.
Maria, one last question before we let you go. What is the first thing that you want to do as soon as quarantine's over, you can go back outside, everything's back to normal?
Oh my God. There are a lot of things I want to do. Every day I'm like, oh, I can't wait till I can do this again. I honestly want to be at BMO Field. I was saying it last night, and I know that sounds like super, like, oh my God, drink TFC, and we're just saying that. No. Last night I was on a drive with my sister, and I'm like, I miss being at BMO Field because I spend 90% of my week there on a regular basis, and I just love being there. It's like the highlight of my week. So I hope I can just go there, even if no one else is there. Let me go there. So I hope that I can do that soon. Hopefully there's a game coming with some fans eventually. So.
Absolutely. I don't think it's a weird answer. I think like 90% of the people that we've asked that question to have said something to do with going back to sports or something to do with a sporting event. But that's all the time we have, Maria. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I know we all hope we can see Toronto FC whenever they come back, whenever MLS comes back, that they carry that MLS Cup. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure to talk to you guys, and I hope you stay well and healthy and busy, keeping yourselves as active as possible throughout this. But thank you once again.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you. Appreciate it.